It's time for your Talk Time Live exclusive.
You are now about to witness the strength of geek knowledge.
Ladies and gentlemen, my next guest is one of my favorite returning guests. She is the voice of many of your favorite characters on anime and animated series, most notably for her role as Boruto in Sailor Jupiter. She is Amanda Celine Miller, or Amanda C. Miller as I like to call her, and she is back because we are going to talk about what's going on in her world, but also we're going to talk about the upcoming game Naruto Cross Boruto Ultimate Ninja Storm Connections, which is coming out on all platforms. I am so eagerly waiting to check this out, including the new story involving her character. So, folks, please welcome back Amanda C. Miller. How you doing, Amanda?
Hello, I'm doing great. How are you?
Not too bad. It's great to have you back. First of all, I got to say this. Congratulations, I guess, is in order on behalf of you and all of the actors out there and the writers.
I did it all myself. I like arm wrestled with the head of the Motion Picture Association. I was like,
I knew it.
I was sick of it. I was like, this strike's gone on for like several months now. Let me just roll up my sleeves and just handle this business.
It had your name written all over it. No, but I mean, honestly, I followed this, passionately because I have always said I actually had Jeffrey Thorne, he's a writer and he's written for a lot of TV shows, Ghost, Power season, Power Ghost, Book 2 Ghost. He was the showrunner for Avengers Black Panther's Quest as well, and he does a lot of comic books. So he was knee deep in this as well as on behalf of the WGA. And we were talking about this, and I'm like, really, this affects everybody. It's not just the writers, it's not just the actors. The same practices that is going on with these companies goes on in every industry. Like when he was telling me the stuff that he was going through and what they were doing on his side of things, it reminded me of stuff that I was going through with corporate. So like I was rooting for you guys to win because it's a big deal. If you guys win, it may actually influence other industries, hopefully, to look out for their people too, especially during these inflated times. I got to ask, what did you think of the results of the strike? Do you believe that you guys are getting everything that was asked for? Did you think there was something missing out?
So I have to admit, I'm not super well versed on like what exactly we gained from it. I know that they were fighting about a couple key issues, and one of them was AI.
Absolutely.
I have like not even a hate relationship. I understand why people are upset about it. I think it's really freaking cool, the potential of what we can do with it, but I
agree.
We're afraid.
I agree. Absolutely agree.
So I think as far as the union went, I think that they did a good job protecting us from that, because they were like trying to be like, we want to be able to use your likeness. If we cast you, we get to scan your image into a database, and then they could just sell it to third parties or whatever they wanted to do.
Even after you pass and stuff like that.
Like, I could understand if it's like, I'm like, if I was, let's say a superhero or like a character that's like in a big franchise, it's kind of riding on me, and I love the character and I die in a car accident or something like that, I would be like, yeah, I would love to like live on. That'd be so cool. But like, I don't know why they couldn't just say, hey, if you sign off on it, we can use you. Or if your family signs off on it. But they were saying like, we should be able to do it without your estate's approval.
How about that though?
The audacity.
Yeah, I mean, it honestly really is. I mean, it's like when you think about it, it's like, are you? And not only that, I was already told that they were already scanning people, unbeknownst to them.
Yeah, well, I heard that somebody, I'm not going to say who, but there's a big producer in Atlanta who was like, hey, man, like, he'd go around to the actors and be like, hey, like, so good to have you here. Thanks so much for being on the project. And they were all so starstruck because of who he was. That he'd be like, hey, could you just sign this thing? And like, we'll give you $150, $200, and like, you'll be in our database. And we'd love to use you in our like other projects and stuff. Like, it'd be cool to just have your character like live in this universe. And they would just be so flattered that they'd be like, oh yeah, like I'll do it.
Not thinking about the residuals or.
Yeah, no, nothing like that. So it's, and then apparently they were selling the images and likenesses and stuff to third parties for $200. Like, your likeness is going to be all over and you have no control. You could be an extra in a porno. I don't know.
Exactly. It's like, come on. But not only that, it dates back to video games too. I mean, I know that's the subject that's going to be coming up pretty soon as well. Like it's over for the actors and the writers, but the video game industry may be getting ready for something as well. But there was a situation way back, I would say for sports games and wrestling games, where they were contractually obligated to sign a contract that says we are going to take your likeness and we're going to be able to use it over and over again, no matter what. And this was before everybody figured out, like, wait, that shouldn't happen. And now you got these WWE games that are coming out, like, no matter they have people from past, present, and future on air.
Because that's the problem. Like, that's why I appreciate a union being proactive.
Yes.
Because when they're playing catch up, it's too late. Like,
yes.
There's no language in place to protect people. Then they're like, oh, well, we've already done it. So I think that was the problem with residuals, was that, like, for streaming services, they've kind of worked some in place. Like, I know now I get some residuals from, like, my Netflix shows and whatnot, but, like, I have friends who are on, like, Carmen Sandiego, and they don't get any residuals. So it doesn't matter if people like the show, doesn't matter how many people watch it, they don't get anything. They just got paid the session fee, and then the show takes off without them. So because we didn't understand that streaming and web stuff was going to be basically the new TV. So the contracts didn't reflect that. So they didn't put in protections to be like, hey, on TV, if you're, if you're on a NBC show or whatever, like, if you're on TV during I guess they have commercial breaks. So the commercials on TV would pay for it. That's so for streaming, they're like, well, we don't have commercials, so we don't need to pay residuals. We don't need to pay the actors as much. We're not making as much. And then they realize, oh no, they are making a lot. So
now, I mean, stuff like that. And again, because streaming networks has been out for quite some time, it was eerie. It was a hard thing to figure out, and I'm glad that they finally put two and two together on it. One of the things that I actually enjoyed about some of the things that are agreed upon was the I guess the diversity, authenticity, I guess, where, like, for certain aspects of filming, when it comes to wigs and everything. And I'm not saying it in direct detail, but it's like you have to be correct in terms of transgender or ethnicity or whatnot. Like, if you're wearing a wig, like, the first thing I was thinking about was like Shamar Moore and Tyler Perry's Diary of a Mad Black Woman, when he wore the cornrows. Just look awful.
So what you're saying with we have to basically play what we are, or you're saying, like, if you're bald you can't wear a wig, or like what's the
Let me see if I could go back on my notes here, because I put it all on my notes and it was quite insightful, to say the least. Let me see if I can go here. Substantials, residuals, the contract brought up. Yeah, here it is. The contract also brought about, this is coming from Deadline. The contract also brought about the importance gained for hair and makeup equity, the sharing of aggregate diversity statistics, which eliminates inappropriate wigging and paint downs, gender neutral language, access gender affirming care, and translation services.
Wait, so what was so basically they're saying, what's the wig thing? I still don't understand.
I was thinking too, like, inappropriate wigging. I'm like, me personally, I've seen some movies where, like, certain people wear certain type of wigs. Like I said, there was a meme or a post where somebody posted all of the really crappy wigs that black men had to wear that looked awful. Like, it looked obviously that it wasn't their hair at all. I could be wrong, but that's what the first thing that came to my mind.
That's hilarious if it's literally just enough of these bad wigs, because then I agree. Because I've seen, like, I don't know, like in Mean Girls, where, like, there's a couple moments in, like, movies where I'm just like, that's, like, you can see, like, the lace front wig. So I'm like, maybe no more of these shitty wigs. Like, we've gotta because I don't know if it's what I think it is, where basically they're like, oh, if you need a wig to play a character, then you can't play that character. But I'm like, I wear straight hair wigs sometimes for auditions.
Right.
I wear, I wear, like, looser curls. I have all different kinds of things to, like, make it different, because I'm ethnically ambiguous. So I guess, are you saying that maybe they're basically putting things in place where you have to play what you actually are? Because I actually
maybe that, or maybe just that it has to look authentic at least. It has to be approved.
I have
maybe
they're probably doing the first, because, like, so I don't know, maybe this isn't a popular opinion, but I don't like that we are basically saying, oh, are you Persian? You can only play Persian people. Are
I agree with that.
You know, or
there's
you
a part. I think it's appropriate in some cases. I also think it's inappropriate in other places.
Mhm.
Because when I think about this, I'm like, I know there's some, actors. I'll say Phil Lamar,
Mm.
who has played some really good white characters in the past because of his voice, and it carries to that. He played Aquaman on so many different takes, and it's like, okay, he can roll with it. I don't want him to lose that role.
Right, he
But
plays
then
Asian. He plays Samurai Jack. Like he gets to play
exactly,
the whole range.
well put. And then there's some cases where some people are like, no, you shouldn't be there, bro.
And I understand that. I do think representation matters in a way where, like, okay, cool. If there's an Asian character and
Yeah.
their Asianness or whatever
Yeah.
plays into the character,
Yeah.
yeah, sure. Have somebody who actually speaks that language. Have somebody who actually understands that culture. That's fine. But a
Right.
lot of times I'm seeing stuff where it doesn't have anything to do with the character. They arbitrarily made the character a race because they want to get like points. And
Right.
then they're just like, must only. I've seen one that was literally like, must be character is part Swedish, part Middle Eastern. So please send actors who are either Swedish and or Middle Eastern. And I'm like, does the character?
And then they end up casting somebody from the UK.
It's like, if it's relevant, if they have a skill they need to do, that's fine. But
Right.
it's also another thing that I think is interesting is like when they assume that because you are that ethnicity or whatever, that you also embody certain things of that culture. So like they're like, they're like, I have plenty of Latino friends who are like, I don't speak Spanish.
Right.
And people cast them being like, oh, do the thing. And so it's just interesting. But yeah, no, I as an ethnically ambiguous person who no longer can audition for all the things I look like, I'm not a fan of the whole, you have to actually only play this thing. I'm like, I didn't get into acting to just play
And that is
a white
you're right.
biracial person.
That is the part about that. I think that's the part that is missing from the art of acting, in my opinion. I mean, who are me to say this, but acting was about portraying, and it's the art of convincing people to be immersed in the character because of their performance. It's not meant to be always a malicious type of thing or an offensive type of thing. If you could play the role and you play it with the respect that is needed, then I think it should be okay. If like there was a time when we would go to different countries and we would go by the customs of what they we respect their customs, and we would go by their cultural ways. But now, in a lot of ways, people are just outing you because you're misappropriating the culture.
Yeah, I think
They don't even know if you were born in that culture, by the way.
It also started with good intentions, because back in the day, it was very common for people to be like, oh yeah, I created rock and roll, or I created this and that, even
Right.
though like, I don't know, there's like Chuck Berry, or like, like there were people, there were like a lot of times into this country, it was like black artists or black hairstyles or whatever.
Yeah.
Were, they created something, and then a white actor or a white performer or white whatever.
I literally just had this conversation about the term woke. I literally just had this conversation. Like, it's so commercialized and politicized now, but like that's a word that we used to use to let us know, to be alert on what's going on against us.
It just meant stay vigilant. And then of course,
right,
once it became mainstream, it's like mom and dad discovered it and it became not cool anymore.
And now also in a bag of Lay's potato chips woke. Like that's how commercialized it is now. It's like, it's so crazy.
It's that's always the joke. Like whenever they have the holidays for like different things come around, they're like, for African American History Month, buy some, buy Doritos because we care. It's like, you care about our money. Like you're like Pride Month, they're all like, we suddenly care because
right,
gay money, straight money.
We're celebrating the 50th anniversary of hip hop with a new Big Mac.
Yep, with a McRib. But it's definitely it's funny. So like I understand that cultural appropriation started there, where it's like, let's acknowledge the person who started it. To me though, I feel like I don't like that it's become a thing of you can't share in this culture, you can't appreciate it, you can't even look at it, versus if you acknowledge where it came from. Like Bruno Mars is what, Filipino or something?
Yeah.
But people,
to my knowledge, yeah.
I think they've tried to come from because he's like he steals from black artists. He's like, he's never hidden who his inspirations were.
No,
and
I respect him for it. most likely respect to Beastie Boys. People will forget that. People forget Third Base. People forget Eminem, of course. I mean, like, there are other people. Like, we can cross each other's paths as long as we respect the path.
Right. We acknowledge where it came from. We don't say, I created this thing. You know, we're
Right.
like, all right, cool. Like, I grew up listening to Michael Jackson, right? Or whatever your inspiration was for, like, your singing. And
it's okay. It's okay, new generation.
Like, calm it down. And so that's why when you were saying, like, you know, we used to be able to share cultures. We used to be able to, like, if you go to Tokyo, you could participate. No, not Tokyo, but like maybe like in Japan, in like the countryside, you could go to a tea house and you could dress by a kimono and you could post a picture of it. And it wasn't like, oh, you're stealing their culture. It's like, no, I'm here and I'm participating in it.
No, what it does is make you well-rounded. It makes you more aware. It makes you respectful because you're able to be a part of this experience and you grow from it. But we're so in a bubble right now. It's just, it's sad.
It's always from good intentions. So the thing is, I understand why they're like, and even I don't disagree that we should try to in Hollywood cast certain roles for people who actually are that thing,
right?
Because they have so few opportunities. I understand that. Like I don't want to bring the Snow White movie has enough like stuff around it. But, you know, Peter Dinklage was like, don't cast the dwarves as little people because I guess it's offensive. I don't really know, but like. And then a bunch of little people actors who are less famous than him. I'm like, hey, bro, like you got your bag. Like, let us get ours. Like, no,
exactly.
Cast us. So that because they had cast a bunch of different sized people to play the dwarves,
right?
To appease Peter Dinklage, and then people were like, oh, you didn't cast actual dwarves. So then I guess they're redoing it, and now they're doing CGI dwarves.
I saw that.
To no one except I guess voice actors, but probably not little people. So,
God bless this generation in life.
Yeah, but what a time to be alive.
Exactly. Speaking of generations,
yes,
we got to talk about. Look at that segue. We got to talk about.
It's back on topic. I'm like going off on like social commentary. So.
I'm all for it. It's great talk here. But in terms of generations, we got to talk about your character Boruto, as he will appear on the new upcoming game Naruto Cross Boruto Ultimate Ninja Storm Connections, which is out on November 17th on a Friday, and. I've been a big fan of the Ultimate Ninja Storm series. I don't know how much of a gamer you are.
Not much of one. I play like Duolingo. It just doesn't count. Like the Sims doesn't count.
It's game-ish.
Yeah, game adjacent, I guess. I used to play it much more in high school.
So I'll move you to the Molly Flanagan line over there. Yeah. but to her credit, she did buy a Nintendo Switch. I just want to point that out.
Okay.
Get on the ball. But the game is coming out and you are a big part of this one because the story, like the last one that they had did have a story based on you, but it was more like an expansion. This time, this story is really based upon your generation and story. Can you give us a little bit of insight on what that's about?
I don't know how much I'm allowed to say because
a synopsis at best or whatever. Like, paraphrase it.
I don't, because usually they just say don't say anything until the game comes out.
All right, then let me ask you this: how excited are you?
I'm very excited. The game we've been working. I mean, I'm probably not gonna play it. I don't even know what console it's coming out on, but
all of them actually.
Okay. Does it come out for the Sega Genesis? Because that's what I have.
I wish, in respect to you on that one, I'm a huge Genesis fan. It's one of my all-time favorite consoles. So much like you're a gamer.
Yeah, I have a Xbox 360 and I have a Sega Genesis. So I have like my gaming is stuck back in like my elementary school, middle school, high school days.
Fair enough. There were Naruto games for the 360 at the time, so we'll go with that. But no, this one I would say at least you need to check this out because what they usually do with these games is amazing in the sense that they recreate some of the biggest moments of the Naruto and Boruto sagas.
Okay.
And the animation is just absolutely spectacular. It almost looks Disney-like. Like, I mean, you see the animation from the show, but they take because it's 3D, frame by frame and 60 frames per second and everything. Everything just moves faster and smoother. And when they do these cut scenes that you are familiar with, it looks awesome. I mean, it is an incredible experience. And this is why they have 5 games, actually 6 games since the original.
So is 60 frames per second, isn't that like what they film like sports events in?
Pretty much.
So it's like very like fast.
It's very fast paced.
Okay.
Yeah, it's 30 frames per second in 60. 60
Okay.
30 is nothing to smile about either. 30 is cool. I'm usually cool with 30. There's a bunch of, really stuck up game enthusiasts out there that love the resolutions and all the stuff, but 60 frames is, it's really fast paced. Like, you probably need to, if you get dizzy easily, you probably should go with 60 frames per second.
No, I'm excited about it because we were working on it for a couple of years. Like, it was actually
Yeah.
like we recorded like, I can't remember what it was. I think it was like 17,000 lines or something like that. Like, I don't know if
Per person, or just you, or just
I don't remember. I know the director told me, he's like, we did this many lines. I don't know if he meant like just me or the whole game, but I know
Yeah.
we thought it was done. And that was like 2 years ago. And then like in the
Yeah.
past year, they're like, hey, we're doing some tweaks to the game. And they were like, here's 30,000 more lines. I think it was total. I think it was everybody.
Wow.
So then it's essentially like recording a new game. So there's
Yeah.
a lot of content, and I believe it's stacked on top of what we already did, and some things tweaked, but for the most part, I think
Yes.
it's expanded it even more. So I imagine it's going to be a very in-depth world, in-depth story, and different options and whatnot.
Well, a lot of it is going to reprise some of the most memorable scenes from both Naruto and Boruto. Did you have to redo? You said you had to redo lines for those two.
Yes, I mean it's been a while, but yeah, like there was definitely parts where it's like you're watching a flashback of something that was in the movie or in the
Right.
show or something like that. I remember I don't know how much I'm supposed to say. Does the trailer tell you a little bit about the story? Is there like a
Yes, it really does in a sense, but not entirely. It's not to really bring a little bit. It doesn't elaborate as much, but it gives you enough to say, like, Boruto has a new threat going on, and Naruto's going to be involved with it to that extent. But it's the trailer is about like 2 minutes long, so it gives you a little bit of something to jump at the bits with for.
well, kind of to cover what we were talking about earlier a little bit. I remember there's like kind of like AI or VR, so like that's kind of a timely thing that they worked into the story. So that'll be interesting, I think, for most people.
There's a lot of stories like that happening in all sorts of different facets. Like, there's the AI story element is really coming in, making AI the villain of this whole thing.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. Even though the Matrix already really made that happen. Yeah.
Right? Oh, here's the thing with AI. It's like, yes, some of it's very good. Usually, though, there's still a person behind it. Like, you have to, like,
Right.
even the weird creations you're seeing online, usually, like, they're like, I fed this into a computer or whatever. No, that's not how that happened. Like, they tweaked it to make it funnier. Like, there's
Right.
a Netflix that's like, AI wrote this rom-com. And then it'll say in the thing, like, it's like, with the help of a comedian. And so it's like, so AI is not that smart. I tried to do some stuff with it because I thought it was funny.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh yeah, this is bad. It had like it became self-aware and then had a breakdown. It was like a whole thing. So I don't think AI is ever gonna. Well, I'm knock on wood. I don't think it's ever gonna replace artists fully.
Oh, please let that be the famous last words of Amanda before we go into it.
Before Skynet takes over.
Exactly.
But I think there's a way to work with it because I keep saying like it's coming. You can't stop it, so you can't like ban it. Like I'm not a fan of like being like the government should ban it. It's like it's here, and there's a lot of cool uses for it. Like for example, there's a lot of screenwriting programs where you can use AI to help you write your story. So you might be stuck, and you're like, what do I do? Like and then you can tell the AI to create a new line of dialogue, create a new tell you who should speak next, or it'll say like a line of action. It'll say so and so does this, and you can do like 3 different versions and be like, ooh, okay, well, what if they did do this, and then write that, and then you can you can use it to supplement or help, and then
that's exactly what Adobe is doing right now with all their programs, like Adobe Photoshop. The new Adobe Photoshop right now has a AI generator.
Okay,
it is scary. It's scary good, but it's also like, again, it's like in the corner of your mind is like, how far are we going to go with this? Because you can expand pictures and it adds on the information of the pictures. You can also add elements on there. I did a little thing where my wife basically, she dog trains and she has pictures of dogs. So I expanded the picture showing parts of the picture that you didn't see before. And it automatically just added on the trees and the root and the leaves and the ground and the foliage in the ground and everything. And then I added a little bear sleeping right in front of him. That looks it matched the lighting of the actual atmosphere. It's insane. And then you have 3 different versions that you can pick from. The whole algorithm sounds just like what you just described.
I mean, like, it's scary because I definitely think artists, it's going to come hard for artists because it's already like so much cooler. Granted, it's using it because it stole other people's art and then that's
Yes.
what it learned. So it's like already kind of like morally questionable. But that I don't see. I don't know. I don't know if artists have a that sounds awful. I don't know if they have a long future, but it's like I think the hardest fight because AI is already like doing its thing.
Here's the thing. I think we will, because I do graphic design too. I think we will have somewhat of an issue, but I also see us as humans wanted to support us as well, because even though AI is doing this, we are capable of doing the same thing. Maybe not as fast, maybe not as I don't know. We're definitely diligent. Maybe not as fast as it generates, but we also have a more soulful, passionate understanding of it. There's a significance in our art. That's what art has been all about, and it's been about significance. Like, what story are we telling through our art? That's something I believe AI is not going to be able to have unless it just all of a sudden generates a personality.
Or I think you could use AI to make your art. Like, you could be like, okay, like you could help it place, you could help be like, hey, design this and this and this, like, and then you can tweak it and you can you can.
That's exactly what you can do in Photoshop right now.
Yeah, like I think there's a way to do that, and it actually might make your job easier.
As an extension, yes. Mm-hmm. But to be like as an executive at an office that normally has a team, a design team, and you just say, screw it, I can save more money out of this. That's where it's going to be a problem.
That's why I'm like, for you guys, I think it's going to be harder. I think it's a lot now that SAG has like the protections in place. I think acting wise, we're safe for a bit. I know voiceover, they're already creating databases online of our voices, and people are just like illegally just like trying to replicate them for their games. I think there's going to be a lot of potential lawsuits there, though, if you can't just use somebody's likeness like that to sell your product if I have not consented to it and you have not paid me for my time.
Did you, by chance, hear the song by Molly and Sean Schimmel?
Mm-mm.
Somebody didn't sell it, but they did it, and they had Molly and Sean sing their version of one of the Weeknd's hit songs. And damn if they didn't sound good doing it. It was where Molly heard it too. She like, this is kind of cool, but I'm also weirded out about this right now.
That is creepy. Like so that's where I'm definitely concerned with AI is we're never going to be able to tell what's real and what's not anymore, because we'll see there's a video of them leaving the crime scene with a weapon, and that's all been AI. The person might not even have been there. So we might have
that's the moral and ethic. I think this is the moral and ethics is what people are worried about, not the ability of what it can do, but how it's being used ethically. Because if it's not used ethically and it's used to manipulate and maliciously, that's when it's going to cause problems. And yeah, that's something to be afraid about. But that's why we need a certain balance in this whole thing. And I'm hoping that's the case for all of you, especially in the video game industry, because that's a whole nother issue as well with that. And going into Boruto, I gotta say, like, I've finally caught up watching the other episodes of that series, and I gotta say, here's something that I think that gets a bad rap. I will say this for your show: I actually enjoyed, and I hate to say actually as a form of defense, but I'll say it, I enjoyed the actual filler episodes, and I think because I looked at it and took it in as a different type of way, and I think. Do you honestly? The big deal about filler episodes with anime and anime fans and everything. Do you think filler episodes get a bad rap at times?
Yes and no. I think some episodes are absolutely pointless, but there's some filler that's cute, or some filler that's like a really sweet character arc thing, where like 2 characters get to do like they run an errand together, but they learn more about each other and they deepen their friendship, or something that's like. If you like these characters, why wouldn't you want to see them, in all their moments and be like, that's kind of a cute little slice of life moment. So But then I absolutely think some filler is just a waste of time and absolutely insulting.
Without even saying it, have you been a part of a filler that you were like, why is this happening?
Oh yeah, like there'd be times where I'm recording, I'm like, really? This whole episode's about a boat, or like, whatever. Like I'm just like that. I thought we were gonna do this or that. It's like, or it's especially because it'll usually be after a really interesting arc where you're like, there's a lot of action and all that, and then like the start of the new arc is like, cool, we're on a boat or we're delivering mail, and I'm just like, you can't just like go back to normal. You got to keep it like at that high. So yeah,
It's for art.
yeah. I'm also very much I'm a writer as well, so I'm always like, that was a missed opportunity. They should have done this and that and that. So
Right.
I have a lot of opinions about things.
So going to writing, like, how has that been for you? Like, since you like, here's the thing. Last time I think we spoke was during the pandemic. First of all, so that was fun. Second, you were in the midst. Like, I think all the times that I've talked to you, you have advanced. You had added another title into your repertoire, and ADR writing was one of them. Like, how are you liking that aspect of your artistry?
It depends, because like if you're working on a show that's really good, then it's always fun because then you're like, oh, I get to work on a show I love, and I get to put words in these people's mouths, basically. Because they give you the English translation, but you have to make it sound natural. You have to make it make sense, because a lot of times the jokes don't translate, or
Exactly.
other stuff just doesn't quite work, or it doesn't sound like how we would say it. So some shows are really fun where you get a chance to kind of not make it your own, but like they'll say, hey, can you make it funny? So it's like you get to kind of be like, how do I say essentially this, but in a way that's funny to an American audience or whatever. So you kind of get to be like more creative. And then other shows, they're like, don't change anything, but make it match, but don't change a single word. And you're like, how do I make it match? So
Right. But that's the one thing that I respect about this generation of anime production is that, like, I grew up in the 80s with Voltron and what is that, and some of the other stuff like Speed Racer and all these stuff before the term anime was actually a thing, which became a thing during the late 90s in the US. And it's not the actor's fault. It is the writing of it. It didn't work, and they were trying their best, and they didn't understand the culture too much. But credit to this generation, because it is far and away evolved in so greatly, and the ADR aspect of it is the best part about it, because you guys managed to do it while also respecting the culture and also making it to localize for us. And it's not an easy task.
No, because you're never gonna make everybody happy, but it's also like, do you want it to sync, or do you want like Speed Racer dubbing? If you want it to sync, we got to change some words around, because English and Japanese are very different languages, and
Exactly.
It's gonna be shorter, or this pause is in a weird spot, and we have to make it pause in a natural place for an English speaker,
Right.
or there's a lot of things like that, and I think dubbing it's bizarre to me that people are still having arguments about dubs versus subs, because I'm like,
it's ridiculous.
Dubs have gotten so much better, and also
here's the pretentious part that I believe, and I've actually had somebody on my show from Japan once, and she's bilingual. She knows she's fluent in Japanese as well as English. She herself has said that she's enjoyed a lot of the English dub better than some of the Japanese dub. And it brought me to the reason why I brought her in is because the misconception that people have, I call them the anime uppity community. Basically, those are people who claim that they love the subs more than the dubs, but they don't know a lick of Japanese, not elementary, not advanced, nothing. What they know is reading. And like, if you took those subtitles away, you wouldn't even know what is considered a good performance or a bad performance.
That's my thing, is I'm like, you're not Japanese. You don't know like if that's a good actor or not. You think you're good, but they might be Japanese people might watch it and be like, I don't know. They might be like,
I'm there with you.
They're like, this guy like is like the cheesiest. Like he might be like, haha, I am acting, like. But here we're like, gosh, they're so brilliant. It's like,
exactly.
I've heard
it burns me. It pisses me off every single time I hear this online.
I've heard people. I mean, I don't know if this is true or not, but I know somebody who said that they were like, oh, in Japan, they sometimes will watch the English dub because they like the performance more, because it tends to be more natural. It depends. Sometimes there's a style of anime acting that's still very much about the sound, where it's like, oh my gosh, I sound like this, and it's more about them just trying to sound like the Japanese and not actually add any heart to it. It's just like a mimicry versus
Right.
like really trying to like adapt it, because it doesn't always translate. Like there's certain things in Japanese culture or the Japanese delivery that just don't work for an English audience. If all the women had the same pitch as a lot of these Japanese characters, nobody would ever watch the dubs, because it's so much higher there
Right.
than we're used to in an English speaking country.
Right. And again, like to all of your respect, like you guys did a really good job. It's just I think there are people who there's two different types of people of otaku, if you will. There are those who grew up during my generation of subpar acting in anime during the tape trading era. And then, which there was like little or few really good performances out of that. And then with dialogue and such. And then there are the ones that grew up with those people in a generation to believe that that's the way to go. So they don't give the dubs a chance. But here's the thing. I know dubs won, because when Crunchyroll bought Funimation, that to me told me to like, and they decided to migrate all that content over there, and now they decided to, added all the dub stuff, at least most of it. They, that told me for like, there's money in the dubs. There's absolutely money in the dubs right there. So like, I honestly, that whole conversation should be done.
And for me, it's not so much that I'm like, oh, dubs are better than subs. I'm just like, why don't you just let people enjoy what they like, and like sit down and just go back to eating your tater tots that your mom heated up for you. Watch your anime however you like it, and let other people watch anime however they like it. Like it's not. It's just a weird purity gatekeeping thing, and I'm just like bored.
It is. Well said. Absolutely. So other than that, I mean, the strike is over. What can we expect from you? Are you continuing off on some other projects coming up that you can talk about?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still trying to double down on on camera stuff. I'm gonna do it. I have I think you asked me a question a while back and I forgot to answer it. But yes, I had a commercial. Yeah, I think you asked me a question and I was like, I forgot. Yeah, I booked a commercial earlier this year that was with Regina King for.
I saw that and I was like, I heard that you only said like a word or something like that, and it just I walked past my TV. I'm like,
yeah,
it's Amanda.
It was me and my vocal fry. It was yeah. I was like, they dressed me up like an insufferable Gen Z kid.
Yeah,
it's like I got that good skin or something. So they're like, oh, you look young. So I had like the big round glasses, and I was just like, nice choice.
I was like, oh no, you can fool anybody else, but I know exactly who that is. I know exactly who the hell it is. I was like, okay, dope.
I mean, the thing is, I didn't hate the look. It was actually very interesting, but I definitely looked like somebody who would be like, actually, like all the time, like just be the most lame person at a party.
But you're at a record store, so you couldn't do that.
Yeah. Well, I'm at a record store. I'd probably be like, you're going to get that album.
As a person who used to work at Tower Records, yeah, that happens.
Yeah, like that would be exactly who I played. But yeah, I'm going to try and do some more like on camera stuff. I'm going to I keep saying this. I'm like, I've been writing stuff forever. I just haven't like finished any of it. I'll start writing like 30 pages of a screenplay, a pilot, but then never go back, never revise it. Like I just have a bunch of like half-baked ideas, but I have a lot of exciting things that when I win the lottery and have all the time and don't have to work day jobs, I will you're gonna be like, wow, she's a prolific TV and film writer. I knew her when.
I already say that now.
That's a weird thing to say. I haven't finished anything, but all right. Yeah.
Look, I know people who claim that they want to be, haven't done it, too tired to want to do it, and I see you doing it all the time. I see you aspiring. I always see you adding onto it. You have the passion for it. And I always appreciate that deeply. Like, honestly, you having you on this show all the time, and I get to listen and learn from your experiences. It's inspiring. So don't take it lightly. But definitely, I do appreciate you coming on the show and, talking about your life, what's going on in your world. You are touring. How's it feel back going out of into touring to cons and everything now? Because, I mean, like I said, last time we talked was the pandemic, and, we were all itching to get outside at the time. So how's it feel to be back on tour?
It's very nice because I think everybody is equally, like, excited to be back out. So I feel like con attendance has been up. Like people are just excited to like. I feel like more people were coming to cons than were before.
Absolutely.
So a lot of people, it's their first time. So I guess they were like, maybe because they couldn't go out during the pandemic.
Yeah.
They were like, man, all I want to do when I get out is finally go to a con. So I get a lot of people at my table who are like, this is my first con ever. I finally decided to just come to one. So it's kind of cool.
And they get to see you. Have you had any like significant fans that have ever come by your way so far? Something that just really stuck out?
Oh yeah, I mean, I wish I could remember like specific ones, but people will come up and they'll tell me how this show impacted them, or they'll say like, "Oh, I watched this show with my sibling, and they're no longer with me, but whenever I watch the show, I feel close to them." Or, I love the ones that are like multi-generational. They watch their kids. They watch it with their kids, and then they both cosplay as characters from the show. Like, I think that's a very cute family bonding activity.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's awesome. I for one am glad. I need you back in Philly. I knew you came to my city one time this year that I couldn't catch. Is there any plans of you coming back anytime soon?
I mean, I don't currently have anything on the books for next year, but this year I started the year with like 2 cons, and then somehow something came up every month, like sometimes twice a month. So cons usually, for those of you who don't know, they invite the actor, so we don't usually just invite ourselves. I guess we could just say, hey, I'm gonna be in your area or whatever, like, you know, but like,
right, or just walk in here like, I'm here, like,
yeah, my table.
Wait, you bring your own table with you?
Yeah, I'm just gonna set this up and just sign here. But yeah, a lot of cons will be, hey, a year or 6 months in advance usually. Like that's usually how it used to be, where it's like they lock you in and then you're like, all right, 6 months from now I got to do this thing. I've signed up for it. Now there were cons where literally like 3 weeks before they'd be like, hey, are you available for this con? I was like, all right. So I don't know. I don't know if that's a post-pandemic thing or if it's just cons that are talking to me. Like maybe I'm just the last resort. So they're like, oh shoot,
No.
Or if it's just like in general, maybe a lot of cons are just scrambling more, and they're like, "Oh shoot, we have to invite the guests." So who knows? I have nothing now, but maybe next year.
Which leads me to my other question: when you get asked to appear at a con, do you ever background check certain events or promoters or whatnot? How does that work?
Usually, so most voice actors now have a booking agent, and the booking agent will kind of usually be like, "Oh yeah, I've worked with them before. They're good people." Or they'll say like, "Hey, this is a first year con. I don't know anything about them." Like, so they'll let you know if it's like riskier. Like I've had some invites to cons that were like first year cons, and my agent's like, "I don't think you should take it." And I was like, "Why?"
Yeah.
It's like, because they didn't know that they need to pay to fly you out or put you up in a hotel.
Right.
So I'm like, so
that could be disastrous.
They just thought I was just going to come to their event and like pay to fly myself and also pay hundreds of dollars for a hotel to come to their event. Like,
right.
No.
And how's the payback? How's the payback going to be? How does this work out?
Yeah, I'm like, so there's a lot. I think that's another thing that the pandemic spawned is there's a lot more cons, like a lot more first year shows. Which, on one hand, it's cool that people are following their dreams and like, hey, like I'm going to start a con. But so many people do not understand all the work it takes to put on a successful show. They're not business people. They don't understand like all
exactly.
They're just fans who really want to. They like going to cons, so they figure.
It's somebody with money who wants to just spend that money and show, but never go into the details.
Yeah, and so it shows. So a lot of actors won't do first year shows. We'll usually be like, all right, somebody else can go do those shows, and then we'll see. we'll hear back if it was a disaster.
I'm always wondering too, because I've known local cons and stuff like that, and some of them, let's just say, I know some things about certain people that are like, if you background check these people, you may want to hold off.
Yeah, to me, I guess I'm kind of like, maybe I shouldn't be this way, but usually with a lot of stuff, I'm like, it's none of my business, so I don't usually look into it. If somebody tells me, like they might, I did have a con that was like, hey, just, we had some drama happen on Twitter, but here's what happened. Here's blah, blah, blah. That person's no longer with us. Everything's cool. So I'm like so that I appreciate. Cause I don't want it to be like, hey, turns out this con it's a white supremacy con.
Exactly. Con. You're right in the middle. You're like the marquee person.
They're like, we thought you were white. We didn't. We just thought you just had a perm. Shoot, this puts us in an awkward situation.
That would be a great story, a chapter for your novel.
The year I got invited to ClanCon, I got invited to DreamCon, and DreamCon.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a requirement that everybody be black, but I think it was like a.
It's culturally supported.
Yeah, so it was basically like so it was me, Katero, Anais, AJ Beckles. There's a bunch of other like black and brown voice actors. I guess somebody didn't know that I'm curious if people walked by and thought like I was just a white girl there.
Well, here's the thing. That I would say that's slightly true, but they do make exceptions, and I'll say that because Molly has been there, or been a part of it at least 2 occasions. I did the panel for her during 2020. I did the panel for her with like 9 of the cast members from the show. From the original show, Yuri and Tara and Steve and Mary Elizabeth, they were all there, and it was all done in Zoom. It was like my first ever Zoom panel ever done, and it was on behalf of RDC World and DreamCon at the time. So that was the first time I ever knew that RDC World and all that did a DreamCon. And then come to find out, when we got back into the swing of things, DreamCon just became this huge thing.
Yeah, it like jumped too, because I think it was like somebody said that there were like 6,000 people there last year, and then this year there were 30,000 people.
Insane. Well, credit to the production crew that they have there, because you look at it, you look at the production and the edits, it looks like like you have to be there. Yeah. And it makes me want to be there, and it just looks huge. And I'm like, these guys who started off online are in this huge stage, and they're like all their fans and everything, and it's an amazing thing. I am big fans of them and what they've done as a group, because it's a rarity to see. It's a rarity to see us like this. I hate to say it, but it is.
It had incredible energy. Like, everybody's just so excited to be there. Everybody was really supportive of each other, and it's just cool to see people just like cosplaying as whatever they want and not having to worry about somebody being like, "Oh, you don't look like the character," or whatever.
Exactly.
I will say though, I still don't know what she said. My boyfriend and I disagree on what she said. But she came up, this white lady came up with her son, and she's like, "Oh, it was so great to see you up there representing. It's nice to see like actual diversity up there." And I was thinking like, "Oh, like she means like, oh, because we're all like actors of color or whatever." And then she's like, because, but then she clarified, she's like, and not just black. And I was like, is this lady saying like, "Hey, thanks for representing the white folk"?
Here's the part. Where was the part of that sentence that really just red flagged you? Because I can hear it the minute you said that. There was a half of that sentence that was like, "Oh, where is this going?"
I forgot the most important part. She said, "It's good to see you up there, like all the colors." My boyfriend heard her say the
colors.
Colored. Like, the colored. And I was like, I don't know. Maybe he was right. Maybe I'm right. But either way, it was still just like, she was saying, she's like, "Oh, not just one type of person. You and your pasty ass self were up there too." And she's like, "When you spoke, I could see people, but their face lit up because they felt seen." I'm like, I mean, unless she was saying like for like mixed folk or something, but I'm like, I know I'm light. Come on now, though. I got invited to DreamCon. I'm invited to the cookout.
This is one of those situations you just say, "Bless her heart."
Yeah, I was just like, "Okay, yeah, thank you so much for coming." And then afterwards, we were like, Did you hear what I think she said?"
Of all the Archie Bunker crap that you ever.
It's weird. She was very nice, and she's like, "Oh yeah, I'm friends with so and so," and it was like, I guess somebody who
oh god, it's almost getting to that I got black friends type of thing.
It was literally that. She's like, so I don't know if she maybe saw my face or something, or she's like, "Oh yeah, I'm friends with so and so," and who's like involved with the con. He was black, and she's like, "I'll put in a good word for you." And I'm like, please don't.
All she need to do is just give you potato salad with raisins at that point. It's just oh my goodness. Amanda, thank you so much for being back and being a part of the show. And I also got to really thank you before I let you plug out everything. Also got to thank you, really, honestly, because you and Kyle, and for those who don't know, Kyle Abear, you both been on the show multiple times, but you guys have been so open about your lives and transparent about certain aspects of your life that has actually inspired me. One of which was your mental health.
Mm.
And because you guys have been so open about it, I have actually looked at myself and my self preservation. I have immediately started taking therapy as a result. And it's been like the best thing that I've ever done.
Good.
One of the best things that I've ever done, mind you. But it was like, we're people of color. We got our, we go through our situations all the time. You know how it is. And it's like, we need that help.
I clearly don't, because the world thinks I'm white, so I get my white privilege. I get invited to ClanCon, and they don't see a problem with it. They're like, "Oh,
well, you get the stacks against you like us. So I guess you automatically, you're the latest beastie sister." But listening to you guys and being so open about it, it's like, yeah, I do a lot. I have a lot on my plate. There's a lot going on in my world. It's hard to be, black man in this world sometimes too, and just, an artist at that, and a freelancer. I need to invest in me, and I mostly give you and Kyle credit for that. So thank you dearly for that.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Yeah, I don't think therapy's for everybody in the sense that, well, okay, I think therapy's for everybody. I think a lot of people have a bad experience with a therapist. Like, therapists are humans; they are just as messed up as the rest of us. So find a good one. Absolutely. But if you find a good one, I just think what they do is they help you unlock the power in yourself.
The right one. The right one. I've had two. The second one is the charm.
Yeah.
He's an anime fan.
Okay.
So he somehow tends to assimilate references of anime into something that matches with me. He's like, your anger basically is like having a Nine-Tails emblem inside your belly. So you're trying to hold back from leashing a Nine-Tails fox. I'm like, you know what? I love you and hate you at the same time.
He's like, you got to follow your own ninja way. Don't forget.
That's literally basically, I'm like, okay, you're the one.
I think that's great though. Cause to me, you can't control the world. You can't control other people. What you
gotta learn to work with it
is yourself and how you feel about things. Like, I mean, it's hard, but you could say, okay, this could drive me nuts. This could piss me off, but like, I'm going to choose to not let this control me. Or I'm going to choose to have a different approach. Or I'm going to choose to not give this person that power. And I just think everybody, if we all understood that, we wouldn't have people being feeling helpless or feeling victimized. Like, it's like, they would be like, no, I'm in control.
There'd be a lot less trolling.
Yeah. And also, if there would be people trolling, then you'd be like, I don't care what you think. Who are you? Like, you would be able to not be batted about. Like, that's.
I always say starve negativity and feed positivity.
Yeah.
That's all.
It's easier said than done. I still, like, every time I get a mean comment, I'm just like, but then I get over it and I'm like, who is this person? Why do I even care what they think?
And it's probably some little kid here hiding behind a profile pic. Like, that's not them.
Yeah.
And I always think about that. Exactly. So, oh man, before we head off, plug away. Let everybody know what our listeners and viewers where they can find you and what you got going on next.
Yeah, so you can find me at Amanda C. Miller VO on all the social medias. Also, I've started teaching. I haven't started my online classes yet. I'm still trying to figure out the curriculum because my classes are usually very physical and it's like theater mixed with voiceover and like how to use your body and your voice and your face and all that stuff to create a character.
That's awesome.
Animation. I'm just trying to figure out how that would, work on like a little Zoom screen. So
hopefully next time we come on, we talk about your syllabus because I'm actually very interested in knowing.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure. And also I'm looking to go back to school. I'm actually looking at the applications now. I mean, probably I'm a little late, but for next fall, because I want to learn speech language pathology and linguistics so that I can use them in my teaching and be able to like help with accent reduction. I can help with people with their feminization or whatever. Like I can help people with their voice issues. Like I can actually be able to say, what's happening here is your soft palate needs to do this and then this and this and this, but you have tension here. So just press it. Like I want to be able to be that specific and be able to
awesome.
Help people. And do basically speech therapy for actors. And then also it'd be cool to have, if I get my master's, I could actually just be a speech language pathologist for my day job and actually have it be like something where I'm helping people, doing something that's interesting.
And you're still working in the field,
and still
updating
working in the field. And
industry.
Every day I'd be learning something from whoever my patients are. So I think, I don't know, that I just think that's something that's exciting. But yes, basically stay tuned for classes. I'm going to start offering them online soon. And yeah, if you're in the Atlanta area, go to my, well, I guess it's not on my website. Go to my social media and I'll post whenever I have classes. But yeah.
Awesome. Amanda, thank you so very much. I wish you the best and everything that you do. And I look forward to talking with you again. And we'll talk more about what's going on in your world, because there's always something going on in your world. So,
Yes.
folks, I hope you enjoyed this very special, fun episode of Talk Time Live Exclusive. On behalf of myself and the one and only Amanda C. Miller, all I got to say is learn to let go, live life, and love all things anime, comics, movies, and games. This is ACMG Presents Talk Time Live. We are out of here. Take care, and you guys have a good day. And get Naruto Cross Boruto Ultimate Ninja Connections coming out on the 17th.